Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Here's your host, Phil Kornblum.
Hey, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is. What's Sheldon on Big Bang Theory? What does he call it? Tweening or something? I don't know.
I have no idea.
You don't watch Big Bang Theory?
No.
Oh, man, where you been? Well, it's good. It's good.
Watching something else.
They're about to run out of story ideas, though. I mean, it's 10 years, and they're still living in the same apartments.
Well, a 5 year. Well, you know what they're doing? They're having a spinoff this season.
A Big Bang Theory?
Yes.
Who's spinning off?
They're going to take the nerd character and make him a 10-year-old.
They're all nerds.
Yeah. But they're going to, I'm talking about the biggest one. The Emmy.
Sheldon?
Yes.
Okay.
It's going to be called Little Sheldon or something.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I bet that would be fun.
Mm-hmm. CBS is doing it. So
one of the best lines is when they'll say, tell me he's crazy. He says, no, I'm not. My mother had me tested when I was young. and his mother was on an episode one time, says, but I sure wish I'd followed up with that specialist in Houston. It's a good show, it really is. If you're out on the interstate in the Columbia area, out I-26 out toward the lake, be patient. Really be patient. It's really a backup there. Very bad accident at the mile marker 97, which is actually my exit. I was heading into town and got in that traffic. I actually turned around, went the other direction, and was because I thought I was going to be late. I was still in Irmo at the time. I'm usually get in here, Tom. But as frustrated as you get, remember you're better off than whoever was in the accident. There was a medevac helicopter there, so hopefully everybody's okay. So be patient out there and slow down. Don't go so fast.
Yeah, get home.
Yeah, you'll get there. Slow down. I tell you who else. I mean. No, nobody has had as bad a day, though, I don't think, as, maybe somebody in that accident, but Michael Blazek with the A's. You talk about a bad day. How about this line? 2 1/3 innings, 8 runs, 8 earned, 7 hits, struck out 4, walked 1. He gave up 6 home runs in 2 1/3 innings. Washington hit 8 home runs today. 8 home runs.
Against the Brew Crew.
No, against the A's, I thought. Was it against the Brewers?
I think it was the Brewers they played.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. See, I've already traded Blazer. He's still bad. I already traded. Yeah, the Brewers.
Either that or look on the bright side. Tell them manager had so much confidence in you, he let you stay in there to get.
They couldn't get anybody warmed up quick enough. He's the 9th pitcher in history to allow 6 home runs in a game.
Because after the 3rd one, usually the manager brings the hook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'll let him stay out.
This one to take one for the team game here. That's what
my favorite on the list is old Sloppy Thurston. Sloppy was definitely sloppy that day. He allowed. This was back in 1932, even before my time. But some of the names on this list: James Shields, who was really good for a stretch. Yeah. R.A. Dickey, Tim Wakefield. George Custer. Oh, no, it's Castor. George Castor. But
Custer had a bad day, too.
Yeah, he did. But 8 home runs. 8 home runs in one ball game. So, and 4 in a row. 4 back to back to back to back in the 3rd inning off of. And then he got somebody out, and then somebody else hit one. I don't think he had much on the ball, but the old thumb and the forefinger.
They told somebody was stealing signs.
They were stealing something. Steve Pierce, former Gamecock, a walk-off grand salami today. 10th inning, Toronto and the A's. That's where I got the A's from. They were tied 4-4 in the 10th, and Steve says, "I'm ready to go home." Boom. Out yard.
Well, that Canadian air must be good on those ex-Gamecocks there.
Mm-hmm. Cleveland, not real good on one of the ex-Gamecock football players. I'll get to that in just a second. Cleveland beat the Angels today 2-1, but the New York Football Jets have waived former Gamecock running back Brandon Wiles to make room for running back kick returner Marcus Murphy, who they claim from New Orleans. Now, they picked up Lucky Whitehead to return kicks.
Mhm.
Now they're getting Marcus Murphy to return kicks. I guess they're planning on giving up a lot of points.
Maybe. I'm just thinking about Wiles, Teddy, because I think the kid is versatile enough to get on with some team. I mean,
Well, like you mentioned yesterday, he's cut early enough
that
in
he can-
camp that maybe somebody will pick him up. Somebody else will give him an opportunity. I don't think Wiles is the most talented guy around, but he sure does play hard. I mean, you can't fault him for that. I do think he plays hard, and I do think that the folks in the National Football League, they do appreciate that.
And he can blitz protect. That's the key now because they can have 4 and 5 wideouts anyway.
Right. Andy Solomon from down in Charleston is going to join us in the 7 o'clock hour. Andy's got a new book out. Where's the camera? Andy's got a new book out, My First 25 Years of Citadel Athletics. So I guess that means he's planning on another 25 years of Citadel Athletics. I've glanced through here, and a lot of baseball in here. One of my all-time favorite people, the late Chal Port, who was a former Citadel baseball coach, actually recruited me out of high school. I wish I'd gone down there, but Chal Port very promptly mentioned in there.
Teddy, you wouldn't be good at marching.
No, I was. Well, it was in the middle of Vietnam too, and they were killing about 500 folks a week. So that's another reason I didn't want to go down there. And Citadel's not like West Point. You don't have to.
You don't have an obligation.
Yeah, you don't make that obligation.
Right.
But there was a draft back then, and those Citadel cats, they were very quickly grabbed.
Oh yeah, because they figured, hey, just a formality since you're taking the military stuff anyway.
Right. But it's a great education down there. I did make a mistake.
And great connections too.
Oh yeah, the Fellowship of the Ring or whatever they call it. Absolutely, you're right.
Teddy, I went in the SENG one time. I swear I couldn't get past the first 5 desks. I saw about 6 or 7 Citadel rings.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, we're 36 days until I don't count today now because today's about through.
Right.
36 days until college football starts. Gamecocks start practice on July 31st. Clemson on August 3rd. High school football practice starts tomorrow, as a matter of fact, across the state. Slow day today, so I want to hear from you, Tom. I want to hear from some of the callers. Yes. You Clemson fans, you USC fans, what are you expecting this year? And if you're a fan of one of the other state schools, we want to hear from you. We want your input as well as to exactly what you are expecting this season or what you're hoping for this season. I still, and I've heard this from several Clemson fans now, both on our show here, Tom, and on our morning show with Dr. Rick Sanford. I've heard from several Clemson fans who said that they would be satisfied with a 10-2 season, and I just don't buy it. I just don't buy that. After going to the college football playoff for 2 straight years, I just think 10-2 would be disappointing unless you make the playoff with 2 losses, and I'm not sure if that's going to happen.
Well, the thing is, it's not. And not only that, Teddy, we saw this at Florida. Even the big season, his second year that Muschamp had, and they were used to seeing Tim Tebow or Spurrier throwing the ball. Say, well, y'all winning 10 games and still say, yeah, but we don't look like Florida. We all we do is playing defense.
It was boring.
See, so it gets to where not only do you want the wins, but you got to have style points with them too.
Well, one of my favorite folks, Warren Gazay, is Warren still with us? I think he might have passed away. But anyway, he was former football coach of Carolina, and he had enough sense to get in his contract. He got tenured, so when they fired him as the football coach, they had to hire him as head of the physical education department. He was there for years, and just a really good guy. Always really, really liked him, but. He didn't get fired for not winning enough games. He got fired because it wasn't exciting enough. He wouldn't throw the ball. Well, late 50s, early 60s. I don't think too many people were throwing it all over the place. But anyway, we do want to hear from you. Where's my phone number? 800-956-7266. 800-956-7266. We want to hear from you tonight.
And of course, Teddy, this story just came down guy from the state newspaper. We'll talk about.
Don't you be ripping Joe Namath now. I'll come through that glass. You don't be ripping my man.
Don't rip Broadway Joe.
All right, 800-956-7266. You got a local high school story. Lou Bashak of the state newspaper reported.
Yeah, we were talking the other day about guys transferring or going to this high school or whatever, but Christian Brown, the junior forward out of AC Flora, well, he will soon be out of Lower Richland. He's ranked by Rivals as the 11th top player in the 2019 class.
I bet the LR recruiting coordinator is going to get a raise or a bonus.
I think he already has over 20 offers. And he's the number 1 prospect in the state in the 2019 class, but he's moving from AC Flora. Here's the interesting thing. He's originally zoned for Columbia High School, but because of open enrollment, he was able to attend AC Flora. Then he and his mother moved back in with his grandmother over in the Hopkins area, but he stayed at AC Flora. But now he's decided to move over to the Hopkins area, and now he's the star with Lower Richland.
Well, the high school league does nothing about transfers, and maybe because their lawyers tell them they can't do anything about transfers. I mean, we're in such a litigious society, but to me, it's a major problem. I mean, you have a kid that will play for school A 1 year, and the next year he's playing for their arch rival. I'll never forget a couple years ago watching the season opener between South Point and Northwestern, and one of the starters, I can't remember which team, one of the cornerbacks, they were talking, oh, he played last year with the other team. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that, because I've got two different thought processes. Once again, and my son TJ is not an athlete, takes after his mom, but he also takes after his mom in intelligence. And he's never made anything but A's. His lowest grade this past year, excuse me for bragging, and he's in the STEM program at Dorman, which is a very good school. His lowest grade was 98. He's like 8th in his class. And so if he was at a school, or if I was zoned at a school that did not have a STEM program, or did not have a good math program or science program, wouldn't I want to be able to move him? I mean, should I be able to take him somewhere else? Should I have to move?
You would take him to somewhere else.
Yeah.
Just give him a fake address.
Right. That's what everybody else does. And but what happens is, I know of instances where the high school league has been informed that this player does not live at this address he gives, and the high school league still could care less. And I'm sure that part of it, I'm not a fan of their head guy. I don't think he's very good, although he just got named president of the National Federation. But I still don't. I'm just not a fan of his. But in his defense, and in the high school league's defense, I understand they're concerned about litigation. But you just have guys move all over the place. Didn't I tell the lacrosse story on the air the other day? Yeah. Just real quickly, there was a female lacrosse player that went through the entire preseason with one school, was named a team captain, and then 2 or 3 days before school started, decided she wanted to go to another school. Now, should she be able to do that? Some people say, why not? But I don't know.
I mean, trading people. You need a player to be named later.
That's right.
Cash consideration.
Yeah, who's Flora getting back from LR in this deal?
Yeah.
Well, but now I can't feel sorry for AC Flora, because AC Flora in that Richland School 1 has become the school athletically, and they get all kinds of transfers.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I'm not saying they're doing anything, don't get me wrong. I kid about recruiting coordinators, but I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong, just like I'm not saying LR's doing anything wrong here. But if the guy was, like he said, he'd always been zoned for LR, then what's he doing at Flora? Is my only question.
Well, again, he was actually
originally
closer across town to Columbia High School, which is across town. And then he goes to AC Flora because of something. I don't understand the rule of open enrollment. I've never understood. Well, because of that, he goes.
Well, when I was coaching baseball, helping, I mean, I wasn't the head coach, obviously, but I was head JV coach and helped the varsity at Ridgeview. There was a policy within that school district, Richland 2, that you could choose your school. And they were then. You had Richland Northeast, you had Spring Valley, you had Northeast, and then Blackfoot or something. So you could choose your school. Exactly. But once you got in one,
you stayed.
You stayed. I think that was the way it was. But once again, I'm kind of torn. Like I said, if I had that great math student, I wouldn't want him to have to stay at a school that doesn't have a good math program. So if you're a great athlete, do you want to force someone to stay at a school that does not have a great program in whatever sport it is that he happens to to play? It's
Mhm.
it's a tough question.
It's a tough question. It's just like I actually found, and I should have gotten a name and number because it's a rare occasion when you find a person that hates Tim Tebow. What is there to hate about Tim Tebow?
Too goody-goody. Remember Steve Garvey? People used to hate Steve.
That's not why she didn't like him. She didn't like him because she grew up in the school district where he was in Florida.
Okay, I got you.
Her high school was near to his house. But because the powerhouse team was across town and he was homeschooled, he could pick the school he wanted.
Right.
And she said he passed by her school every day on the way to the powerhouse. So that's why I don't like, because he should have been quarterback at our high school.
Right. Well, I can understand. And that's another conundrum. If you're homeschooled, should you be able to play at a public high school?
In the state of Florida, they say
in Florida you can. Mm-hmm. What's the deal here in South Carolina? I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. But if you never go to the school, you're never on the campus, you never go to any of the classes, how can you represent them, whether it be in football, baseball, band, debate? I mean, that's a legitimate question too. Mm-hmm. But then the other side of it is, okay, just because he's homeschooled, you're going to keep him from playing football or baseball or whatever? It's
just because he's 230 pounds, can throw the football, can run over people.
Right.
Why not let him go?
Ask some people in Anderson from years ago about when they redrew the district lines and they head toward James Ed Rice's house. You had a little bit of a curvature around Mr. Rice's house. I think the same thing happened with David Thompson in North Carolina.
Well, Shelby,
North Carolina, right across the line from Chesney, I believe.
Exactly.
But you think of Jim Rice as a great baseball player. He was a Hall of Fame baseball player, but he was a Shrine Bowl football player too.
Right.
I mean, he was a man among boys. He's just a great athlete. So they made sure when they drew those lines, it was some Anderson High School people in charge of drawing those lines. But it's some difficult questions that face the high schools in our state. And unfortunately, I don't think we have the leadership that is solving any of them. Or maybe there's no solution. Mm-hmm. I don't know, because everybody's afraid. If they tell this kid he can't go to LR, he's going to be in court.
Well, I think they think it's just, hey, the hay is out of the barn and they can't do anything about it. And if they try to police it, they'd have to have another arm of the high school league to try to police it. But you were talking about baseball, Teddy, and if we can hop above at the major league level, what do you think about Dansby Swan being sent down?
Yeah, he probably needs to go back down. I don't have his numbers right in front of me. Do you have the numbers?
I think he's batting
he's batting 213, and he only has like 3 hits in his last 25.
The Mendoza line is where he is.
Well, Mendoza could pick it now, so he could stay up. I think what I've seen, Dansby's defense, he's let the offense, he's taken that to the other side, and that's let him affect him a little bit on defense. So maybe he needs to go down. Go down for a little while. All right, boy, we're hitting all kind of great topics here, aren't we? But it's a tough question about transfers and some other problems with the high schools that we never had back in our day. So I don't know. I do not know what the answer is, quite frankly. And unfortunately, the South Carolina High School League doesn't know either. All right, 800-956-7266. Love to hear from some of you folks today. Kind of a slow day. We want to hear from you Clemson fans, you USC fans. What are you expecting? You fans of some of the other state schools out there want your input as well. And of course, we've gotten into talking some high school. High school football practice starts tomorrow. And when you talk about high school football in this state, one of the towns, one of the schools that always has to be at the forefront, Summerville. And Glenn's calling us from down in Summerville. Glenn, thank you for taking the time to give us a buzz.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Hefner. We do have a pretty good football legacy here in Summerville. Pretty proud of it.
Outstanding, yes.
I don't know where you are in the show, but I had a question about baseball,
okay.
and I can't seem to get a clear answer from anybody, and so I figured I'd go to the authority. Okay.
Now I'm gonna be embarrassed when I can't answer it. But anyway, go ahead.
Hold on, Mr. Hefner. I don't understand this thing with relief pitchers about their arms getting tired and worn out and that sort of thing when they only maybe pitch 35 or 50 innings the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, oh, the bullpen's worn out. They pitched, 3 out of the last 4 games and they need a break. I don't understand that when there are pitchers out there, starting pitchers, that will pitch, 200, 300 innings,
well, nobody goes 300 anymore, but 230, yeah, something like that. I am not a pitching authority, but let me explain it the best that I can. Relief pitchers, when you're going every day or 2 or 3 days in a row, your arm's not getting a chance to rest. And you say only 35, 50 innings. Some of them go more than that. Some of them may only go 10 or 12 pitches that particular time. But you got to get hot. You got to get your arm loose in order to throw those 10 or 12 pitches. They're pulled after the 10 or 12 pitches. Now they could have left them in there and thrown a bunch other pitches, like the starters who will go more than 100 pitches, and then they're going to need usually 3-4 days, most of them 4 days rest before they pitch again. The relief pitchers aren't throwing as many pitches, but they're getting hot more often, and that takes a toll on the arm. So they do need to let the arm rest up, and keep in mind they have to get hot in the pen before they come out on on the field. Now, one thing I always taught pitchers is when you're warming up, warm up at 75%. You don't warm up at 100%, especially relief pitchers in the bullpen. But even those starters always had to throw those last 2 or 3 as hard as they could just to see how it felt. But it's just a matter of getting the arm hot. So often, you've got to you got to shut it down once in a while and give it some rest. And I hope that's kind of halfway explained.
Yeah, and we're not even talking about, because there are times when they're up and down that bullpen, but they never get into the game.
Yes,
but they're still throwing, and that takes a toll too. Plus, Teddy, nobody throws the screwball anymore, do they? Because
I don't think so.
Some of these relief pitchers used to throw some of those crazy pitches that did nothing but just tear their arm to pieces.
Some splitters still out there. The splitter is kind of a bit of a hybrid of the old forkball.
The old Bruce Sutter splitter.
Bruce Sutter's pitch. Yeah, Bruce Sutter could, boy, and that's hard to hit because it's just kind of the bottom falls out of it. Glenn, I hope that's explains it a little bit. If you're a baseball coach out there, especially a pitching coach that wants to add to that, or correct me if you think I'm wrong, feel free. Pitching, most of what I know about pitching is that when I played, it was very difficult to hit. Danny in Florence is joining us now. Danny, go ahead.
Hey, Teddy, you were talking about that game between South Point and Northwestern.
Yes.
Well, that coach is famous for doing that. He's at York now, and he got in some hot water trying to get players out of Clover. Of course, it didn't help him none last year because Clover beat them, but he's been doing that before.
Well, I just used that example because it was so glaring to me on TV. I mean, other, we're just talking to Glenn from Somerville. They used to kind of rag Coach McKissick about how it seemed like that this great player from across Charleston, all of a sudden there was a great job in Somerville for his mom or dad. They used to kid Coach Somerville about that as well. But yeah, you shouldn't be able to tamper or basically recruit other kids, in my opinion. There should be some kind of ramifications for that. But yeah, I've heard some of those things, Danny, as well. And there are other coaches out there that have that reputation.
Yeah. And sometimes, let's face it, sometimes it's the parent that say you need to go over there and play.
Absolutely. And you know, as long as the parent does it correctly, i.e. moves or something, but you don't even have to do that anymore. I'm not sure. And I think each district, and I could be wrong here, I think each district handles transfers differently. So what you can do in, say, Richland 2, you can't do in Spartanburg 6, and vice versa. All right, 800-956-7266. Josh from Grovetown join us now. Josh, go ahead, please.
All right, I'm going to try to answer your question about the pitching mechanics. As far as the bullpen,
yes, sir.
If you look at a relief pitcher, he usually comes out there and he probably throws the fastest out of all the pitchers, and the torque that they put on their body is torque on their arm is not the usual throwing motion of a starter who probably throws about 85-90%. So that's why the arms get tired.
That's a good point, Josh. I don't think that's the total reason, but you make a great point, and thank you. Because if you're a starter, Kirby Higbee, who coached me in American Legion Baseball, pitched with the old Brooklyn Dodgers. Now, he used to say he didn't start pitching until somebody got on base. Now, I don't think starters do that, but they do pace themselves. You might have a relief pitcher throwing 97, 98. You put him in a starting role. By the way, that kid today, Michael Blazak, they gave up the 6 home runs. That was his first start for Milwaukee. He had been as a relief pitcher.
Trauma.
But Josh makes a great point. You have to pace yourself more as a starter. As a relief pitcher, you're going for a shorter period of time. You're going harder, and usually you're pitching more in duress. In other words, you're coming in for
out of the stretch.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, you know, the interesting, Teddy, that gets to me is not so much the physicality of a relief pitcher, it's the mentality. How many times we've seen a guy who's tremendous at saving ball games, runners on base,
right? And
you put him in a non-save situation, or the bases are empty.
And
suddenly they get rocked. It's almost like, wait a minute, I'm not in a save. Why are you putting me in here? And they seem not to have the same stuff they have, as you say, when they're under duress.
Right. Well, Casey Sting always said he thought that the best thing a relief pitcher could have was a lobotomy. All right, 800-956-7266. Jared talked with some, didn't talk with, but pulled some cuts off of some of the South Carolina players. Jared, am I saying this right? Why don't you just go ahead and introduce these cuts?
All right, and we might have to get to these on the other side of the break, but, you know, a number of notable South Carolina players.
We can't.
We got one more minute left, but we talked to we saw that a number of South Carolina players here had spoke today. Jadeveon Clowney made it his appearance. So did Nuke Hopkins, Ben Boulware with the Panthers. He had things to say about his days with the Panthers and what he's learning out there. And then just get a little Deshaun Watson update from Coach O'Brien on what he sees in his rookie quarterback. So we'll break all that down for you just so you can keep up with what happened for all these new rookies and players from the state.
All right, we'll do that when we come back. And, of course, we've got the worldwide award-winning recruiting report as well. All that coming up. Hey, thanks for the input there from you folks on the high school and also on the baseball. I want to mention one thing. Our buddy Rick Henry from here in Columbia, WIS-TV, celebrating his 29th anniversary with the station today. Whoa. 29 years. Yeah, I didn't last that long with the state. They ran me off. Yeah, but that's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, when we come back, we'll hear from some of those NFL guys right here on Sports Talk. I'll just turn it back over to our producer extraordinary, Jared Rogers, and some of the cuts from the NFL folks today.
Oh, who, me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, okay. Well, over at the Houston, I mean, at this point, the Houston Texans are already, South Carolina light. They might as well just block off a street and name it Little South Carolina. But head coach Bill O'Brien, he had something to say about his new rookie quarterback. He says it's a difficult time for, rookies to come into the NFL. There's just a lot that gets thrown at them. And that's just what's happening between him and Tom Savage.
That's being given to him, and then they come out here in a very competitive atmosphere. He's a very mature kid. He's, like I said last spring, he's wise beyond his years, for a young guy. And so I think he's handling it well from my perspective to this point.
Now, while he's got the backing of Bill O'Brien and most of the media, I mean, there have been columns coming out this weekend where a lot of the sports columnists are just saying, as much as Tom Savage can do this season, even with a winning record, we're all just going to be waiting for the Clemson Tiger to come and step in. That is not the case, however, for the number one wide receiver on the team, DeAndre Hopkins. He says he's got Tom Savage's back, and that's who he views as the starting QB.
He's the quarterback. He keeps the ship running. And I'm the number one wide receiver. So everything goes through us. And Lamar Miller and other guys out there that are the key players on this offense.
But for the Gamecocks, Jadeveon Clowney, he says that Hopkins really is just talk and talk.
You know that guy just talk. For somebody don't hit nobody, do a lot of talking, huh? Or don't get hit. So, but Hop only do his thing. We just having fun talking junk to each other. It's great.
And Clowney says that his big thing for this year that he's looking to improve is just everyone staying healthy through camp.
Just really coming in. I really trying to stay healthy. I had a little banged up injuries last year. Just really get healthy and work on my hands a lot better than I did this past season. And, just coming out healthier than I did, really. Just come back a lot healthier than I did the year before. And I think I did that, and I'm feeling better this year.
Now we're going to jump ship all the way over back to the East Coast, closer to home. And Ben Boulware spoke yesterday about what the NFL life is like for him. He said he thinks he stayed in the perfect spot. He thinks that the Carolina Panthers give him the greatest chance of sticking with the team in the NFL.
The attention to detail like we had at Clemson, especially with our defense that week, it's very similar. So I realized this is just as big as opportunity. This is my life. I'm trying to pay the bills, hopefully one day support a family. This is the way I want to do it.
And that's just a little brief ticker. There was a lot of South Carolina players and Clemson players speaking to the media this week, so we figured we'd give you a little update.
One update from New York. The Jets have waived former Gamecock running back Brandon Wiles. That was to make room for running back kick returner Marcus Murphy, who they claimed from New Orleans. I'm not that familiar with Murphy. I think it's his third year in the league. But hopefully Brandon Wiles will get a chance with somebody else because he might not be the most talented guy out there, but I do like the fact that he plays and he plays hard.
Yeah, and he can. And as I said, one time he does pick up the blitz, and you have to have a running back that can do that. And pretty good coming out of the backfield. Listening to Ben Boulware, probably because of Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly, probably two of the best linebackers he can be learning from. I mean, those guys, I could swear sometimes when the Panthers defense is going great guns, I could swear it's 3 Thomas Davises and 4 Luke Kuechlys on the field at the same time because they seem to be everywhere. So you could tell they can diagnose an offense. And there's no better and Ben Boulware, as you say, he's not the best athlete in the world, but the guy has a sixth sense of where the play is going.
Got a nose for the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, 800-956-7266. Glenn from North Charleston is joining us. Glenn, go ahead, please.
Hey, it don't hurt to get a good linebacker that's got the experience, that knows how to read the eyes of the quarterback on this way shift and try to con the defense in one direction, and he don't pull that veteran linebacker in that direction.
Well, you're not talking about Boulware, are you?
Yes, sir.
Well, Boulware is just a rookie. I mean, it's a little bit different in the NFL than it is in college football. But yeah, Boulware always had a nose for the ball, no doubt no doubt about that. But they do a lot better job of disguising the NFL folks in their quarterbacks. They do a lot better job of disguising where they are going.
Yeah, well, the key point is obviously, I think it's better to be looking at the shoulders than look where the eyes are going.
I always read the eyes.
Yeah.
But I was not very good. But I try to read the eyes. But I didn't play at a high level. High school, and I played a little bit of semi-pro ball. I mean, those quarterbacks are not NFL quarterbacks or even good college quarterbacks. These guys, you always hear them talking about look off the safety. Well, they're looking off other people as well. I mean, if you get a quarterback that zones in or zeroes in on one receiver, he's going to be in trouble. We mentioned that CTE study. Was that yesterday? We talked about that yesterday.
Well, a couple of days we talked about it.
Talked about the CTE study with 110 out of 111 NFL players.
I still I'm trying to find out
who that other dude was.
Yeah, I want to know who that one is.
Might have been Dion because he never hit anybody. But no, he's not dead yet. But anyway, well, here you showed this. I'm going to let you read it. Kind of an interesting reaction here from one of the NFL players.
Yeah, John Urschel, who's 26 years old, offensive lineman for the Ravens. Now, we saw a lineman I think a linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers played only 2 years, and he decided to retire. In fact, they started to jump ship. But he's retired 2 days after that CTE study.
Did he cite the CTE study?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting thing is he figured that I'm looking at that CTE study, but he also happens to be, working on a doctoral degree at MIT, and he figures I need all the brain cells I can get.
Right.
So he's decided he's going to, put more time into getting that doctorate. So he's decided to step down. So
can a MIT doctoral, not candidate, but you've got your doctoral from MIT. Can you make more money than an NFL lineman?
It depends, but I guess
over the length of your life, you probably.
I think it's a chance. It's a chance. Now, the interesting thing is we can go back to years ago, Teddy, when Mike Reed was an All-American defensive tackle at Penn State, played at an All-Pro level with the Cincinnati Bengals, but also was a concert pianist and composer. And he said, hold it, wait a minute. And you know how those hands get messed up, especially defensive linemen. And I think after 4 or 5 years, he hung it up, So it happens.
My morning partner here in Columbia, Rick Sanford, have you ever seen his hands? Ugly.
I don't want to look at him.
Oh, man. He got fingers pointing in all directions. And he'll point and says, I say, this was Earl Campbell. This was, Earl did this. He said the best player that he ever played against her is the most difficult to tackle was Earl Campbell. I had Earl on the show one time, and I swear his thighs were bigger than my torso. And I'm not a small dude, but just such a polite individual.
Well, the thing about Earl Campbell that got me, Teddy, is the fact that those 2 runs I saw when his jersey was torn off.
Right.
And my mind was saying, wait a minute. They don't wear tearaway jerseys in the NFL. You mean to tell me that guy is so strong that somebody grabbed his jersey and he just ran through the jersey?
Pulled away from it.
Unbelievable.
I was, when I was at the state newspaper, I spent some of my years covering the NFL, which basically meant trying to get players on the phone and write features, but did cover the home games with the Falcons. And Earl Campbell's first game as a rookie was at Atlanta. And I covered that. And boy, he was good. He was really good. Now, he could play. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, Dr. Rick's funny because he's got fingers going in all different directions, and he'll point to him and say, "Yeah, that was Earl Campbell. I think Tony Dorsett got this one." I think he's.
But then again, that makes him a good chiropractor because he can reach and massage places that other guys can't get to.
Yeah, maybe so. All right, Andy Solomon from the Citadel will join us in the second hour. Also, plenty of your phone calls, so please join us. Recruiting. Oh, we forgot recruiting. Yeah.
stop now. More sports talk is on its way. Listen to the final word in sports all across the state with your host, Phil Kornblut.
All right, Phil's still on vacation. Teddy Hafner sitting in the regal chair. Tom Hayes sitting in his usual chair. And Jared Rogers behind the bulletproof glass. 36 days until the opener in college football, the September 2nd for the Gamecocks and for Clemson. USC practices next Monday. Clemson 1 week from today. High school football practice gets started tomorrow. We got into some phone calls there in the first hour, so the recruiting got pushed back a little bit. So before Phil starts calling the show, let's go ahead and let Jared take care of the recruiting.
You know, we brought this out yesterday, so we'll just do a little bit of review going forth. And I should mention that Phil remains in close contact with the show, doing his diligent recruiting as we speak, on vacation, still calling young men, young high school boys. USC coach Will Muschamp, he remains on the hot seat on the recruiting trail going into his 5th commitment in less than a week Wednesday night with a pledge from defensive end Kingsley Ingebar of Hapeville, Georgia. Ingebar gives the Gamecocks 16 commitments for the 2018 class, and he's the 4th from the state of Georgia. He's also the first defensive end to commit to the class. Ingebar chose the Gamecocks from a favorite list that also included Penn State, Georgia Tech, Tennessee, Georgia, Auburn, NC State, East Carolina, Ole Miss, Wake Forest, and Illinois. He narrowed his decision down to USC, Georgia, Georgia Tech, and Penn State, but opted with the Gamecocks. USC is hopeful of doing more damage in the state of Georgia in the next couple of days and weeks. The Gamecocks are the lead for defensive back Jonathan Gibson of Hoxton, with his commitment and announcement set for Sunday. They are in the final 3 for defensive back J.C. Horn of Alpharetta, and they also hold a slight lead for wide receiver Josh Van of Tucker. Horn and Van are on commitment watch as well. Offensive lineman Javon Gwynn of Charlotte was back at USC last weekend for the Spurs Up activities, the latest in a series of visits that he's made to Columbia. The Gamecocks are one of 3 programs Gwynn is still considering, along with NC State and Duke. This most recent visit came with the chance to see another side of the program away from all the recruiting and football talk. Gwynn was joined on the visit by his 2 older brothers. I got to hang out with more of the recruits this time, like some of the commitments on the offensive line, Gwynn said. It was mostly a day like where we played dodgeball and did rock climbing, so we got closer with the recruits to see how our personalities are. Of course, recruits can't come to an event like this without some of the recruiting conversations, and with the coaches, Gwynn had just talked with offensive line coach Eric Walford. He asked me when I was looking to commit and how much interest I had in them, Gwynn said. He told me they had a lot of interest in me, and he was talking about what the chart was looking like with offensive linemen leaving and the offensive linemen who are going to leave when I get there. Gwynn said Walford is coming after him hard, and they talk 2 to 3 times per week. And as for what's ahead, Gwynn said he's finished with his visits for now, and he's ready to start practicing for his season. I don't know if I'm going to commit before the season starts or I'm going to wait until my officials. I'm not sure, he said. I'm going to wait until I'm more comfortable with my decision and everything. He said he does not have a leader at this point. Gwynn visited Duke NC State last Friday before coming to USC. Another defensive back on the books, defensive back Jermaine McMillan of Miami plans to visit USC a week from Saturday. The Gamecocks and Mississippi State are the top 2 with McMillan. He said the Gamecocks have moved into a strong position with him. I love the program. Who wouldn't want to play on a big stage? I haven't had the chance to meet Coach Muschamp yet, but Coach T. Robs says they got a lot of great players. He said he likes that I don't take plays off, and even if the ball doesn't come to my side. McMillan said that committing to the Gamecocks on the visits is a possibility if those visits go well, and he's not yet visited Mississippi State. Tight end Elijah McAllister of Rumson, New Jersey, was in the state last week, and he visited USC and Clemson. The Gamecocks are interested in him, and they'll continue to recruit him while the Tigers aren't showing the same interest. The visit went really well. I love South Carolina. Coach Pat Washington and I connected on a great level, and it was a great visit. Honestly, the best I've had yet. They just want to see some film, and then they'll probably offer, he said. They see me as the next tight end to step in and play right away. I'll be visiting for the Kentucky game, and that visit will be unofficial. McAllister is also considering Michigan State, Tennessee, Boston College at this point. He does not have a favorite, and he's not going to make a decision until January. It says another defensive back heavy recruiting report. Jamari Brown of Pompano Beach, Florida, was offered by USC after a spring game, and he camped with the Gamecocks last month. Brown plans to return to USC for a game this fall. USC Travaris Robinson remains in touch with him, and he was recently offered by Auburn, and the Tigers will be tough to beat because his uncle, Junior Rosegreen, starred for the Tigers and is the defensive coordinator at LA High School. Running back Lynn J. Dixon Butler of Butler, Georgia, is a Tennessee commitment, but he was offered by the Gamecocks recently and visited last Friday for the All-In Cookout. Dixon told Go Vols 247 that he is 110 committed to Tennessee and he'll visit there Friday. But he did not close the door totally on Clemson, saying there's a good chance that he'll visit again. And offensive lineman Jordan Carty of Hollywood, Florida, is one of USC's 2017 signees who did not enroll for summer school because there was still academic work to complete. According to his former assistant coach, Junior Rosegreen, Carty is a point shy of qualifying and will take the SAT soon. Rosegreen is optimistic Carty will qualify and he'll be able to report in late August. He said USC remains very much involved with him. Carty said he is now 6'8", 335 pounds, and the other two signees, defensive back Keshawn Nixon and offensive line Jordan Rhodes, have qualified, and they will report next week. And that's all according to the Big Spur. And gentlemen, I will hand this segment back to you.
All right, let me update you on some baseball. Former Gamecock Steve Pierce, a walk-off grand slam in the 10th inning for Toronto. They beat the A's 8-4. Washington 15-2 over Milwaukee. Washington hit 8 home runs in that ball game, 4 consecutive home runs in the third inning off of Michael Blasak, who went 2 1/3 innings, gave up 8 runs, all earned, 7 hits, and 6 home runs. Becomes the 9th pitcher in Major League Baseball history to allow 6 home runs in one ball game. Cleveland 2-1 over the Angels. Braves are off today and head to Philadelphia for a weekend series.
I'd like to see if because rarely do you see the 4th guy hit a home run, because usually he's dusting off his uniform after being brushed back. Because when guys start to tag the pitcher, their only recourse is to say, "Look, get off the plate."
Yeah, they don't usually get to the 4th one before they start dusting somebody off. Of course, I was there a few years back when the Gamecocks hit 5 in a row against Georgia.
Yeah.
And they won that game, but lost that was in a super regional. They won that game, but lost the super regional at Athens. I used to know the 5 in order, but I can't remember. Can't remember now.
Well, can you remember the 5 out order?
Yeah, I see. I can remember some of them. The crisp kid, was it Andrew? Hit one of the home runs. Robbie Grindstaff hit one of the home runs.
Now, this was off of 2 different pitchers.
No, same guy.
Same guy.
Now, wait a minute. They might have changed. The last home run might have been off a different one. I can't really remember. It was a pretty good pitcher, too. Pretty good pitcher. But, he just not that particular day.
No.
Not that particular day. And that's when the bats were a little bit hotter, too. During the recruiting report, Jared mentioned Travaris Robinson. We'll hear from him a little bit later in the show. My old friend Andy Solomon from down in Charleston will join us in the next segment. Andy's got a book out, My First 25 Years of Citadel Athletics. Doesn't that tell you he plans another 25?
At least. At least.
And I've been flipping through the book and have thoroughly enjoyed it so far. So we'll get Andy on with us in the next segment, see if we can help him sell a few books and make a couple of dollars. But Andy Solomon will be with us later, Travaris Robinson, and we got room for you. We want to take some of your phone calls at 800-956-7266. All right, hang in there, Andy, when we come back. The Professor, Tom Hayes, back with you, also joined by our producer, Jared Rogers, and we're joined also now by Andy Solomon, Assistant Athletic Director for Communications or something along those lines down at
something along those lines.
Well, you guys get such fancy titles sometimes I can't keep up with them.
Well, you've been around long enough. You're going to collect a few, and despite my youthful appearance, I'm starting my 27th year at the Citadel and 43rd in college athletics.
Well, why isn't the title of the book my first 27 years in Citadel athletics?
Well, it took me a while to get it together.
I got it.
But, the book is called From the Pages of the Blue and White, which was the official publication of the Brigadier Foundation, the Citadel's equivalent to IPTE and Gamecock Club. And I wrote feature stories and interesting things and things that I would make up, ranging from who I thought were the top 15 most important people in the history of Citadel basketball.
Right.
Go ahead.
I've thoroughly enjoyed the baseball that you've got in here. I played against some of these guys. I actually coached Randy Korn in high school, and there's one name in here though that I hate seeing, to be honest with you. Rusty Booth. Rusty Booth was from the Camden area. He was a tall, and I know it was before your times. The reason I'm telling you this, he was a tall, lanky, left-handed pitcher, and I was a pretty good hitter, and I hated to strike out. So when I got 2 strikes on me, I'm choking up to the trademark to get that ball in play. I played against Rusty Booth one night in Camden in a summer league game, and he struck me out 3 times. He was the toughest pitcher I have ever faced. And I faced some guys, heck, I hit a home run on Floyd Bannister, for goodness sakes. But Rusty Booth, who pitched at the Citadel.
That's one of the few names I don't have in it. But
you got him in the innings pitched. You got him right here. Innings pitched. Yep. 1973-74. Yep. That was a little bit before your time. And, of course, I coached against the Richard Wieters and Billy Wieters. I coached against him in Legion Ball when they were at West Ashley. West Ashley had a really good team.
Well, St. Andrews. Yeah.
I think their Legion team was West Ashley, but you might be right.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but anyway, they actually knocked us out of the tournament. They had a big old catcher that was really good. I think his name was Center Fight or something. But anyway, that's 40 years ago.
You mentioned Richard Wieters, who was the Southern Conference baseball player of the year in '77. He's the father of Matt Wieters, Georgia Tech star, who's now with the Nationals. Richard and I were in high school together.
Okay.
And so I was keeping his stats and all that, back in high school. And if it wasn't for Richard, I would still be taking geometry in high school.
Now, I don't remember. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Good. And when, I helped enshrine him into the Charleston Baseball Hall of Fame, I looked at him and I said, okay, we're even. But anyway, there are some good stories. Richard Wieters, of course, and you had a question. You go ahead.
Well, Richard Wieters, his brother was Billy. Now, I think Billy was his older brother, and there was game. The Citadel was playing South Carolina at Sarge Fry, and I don't remember what year it was. I want to say 72, but that might have been too early because I remember Richard. I see where Richard played in 76 and 77. But Carolina led the whole way, but they just couldn't put it away. And about the 8th inning, Billy Wieters hit like a 2 or 3 run home run, and the Citadel actually beat a very good South Carolina team that night.
You speak about the South Carolina baseball team. Our good friend Jeff Grants, who's a fellow member of the board of directors for the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame. He was the one who really pushed hard for Richard to get into the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame.
Right.
Where Jeff Grants to say that Richard Wieters was the most dominating pitcher he faced. I didn't need to do anything else.
Well, Richard was a good player, and Billy was too. And of course, Matt, his son. I was actually covering the event in Atlanta at Georgia Tech, the regional. I guess South Carolina was there. And
I saw you there. That's right. Yeah. That was 2003.
Right. And a couple of the Georgia Tech players were staying at the same hotel we were. And we started talking to them. My ex-wife and I started talking to them. And they started talking about Richard Matt Wieters, who
Matt.
showed up as a freshman. He said it took them about 2 practices to realize he was the best player on the field. He was pretty good.
God.
Yeah, he had a home run off Aaron Raw in Atlanta that went over the fence, over the road, and off of one of those fraternity houses on the other side of the road in the Georgia Tech field. I can't remember the name of the field, but he hit an absolute bomb there. Now, if you're a Citadel fan, you definitely need to get a copy of this, Andy. But if you're just a sports fan, especially here in the state of South Carolina, this could be some interesting reading, especially in that one room we all have to go to every once in a while.
Well, absolutely, exactly. But it's a collection of stories, like I said. But I dedicated it to a dear friend, and of course you knew him well, Ken Berger, my best friend of 27 years, and a great South Carolinian. He is the one who taught us all late in his life to write about people, and whereas the box scores talk about the history of the game, the facts of the game, but it's the personalities, the people that whose names are attached to this is what's making this book very popular. And for example, you were very fond of Coach Chow Port, who coached Citadel baseball for 27 years and took him to the College World Series in 1990. I think I've got 2 stories in there about him. And again, he's somebody that, as I said earlier, I went to high school with Richard, Billy Port was in that same class. So some of these people are, as I mentioned on the back cover, I attended Citadel games as a kid. And so to see some of these guys that I watched play, including a guy named Pat Conroy, and then become friends with them, it's just a full circle. And it's been a lot of fun. Starting my 27th year at the Citadel, I've seen quite a few stories.
Well, being the military college of South Carolina, obviously, a lot of athletes, they don't want to go through that other thing of marching, wearing the uniforms or whatever. But I always marvel at Les Robinson's basketball teams and how he got them to play hard-nosed defense. And a lot of the big-time schools, SEC, ACC, wouldn't play the Citadel. They're afraid to play.
Well, that's been the trademark. We always haven't had the best athletes, but, at the Citadel, we need seniors. And, of course, then we need to overachieve sometime. But, that's why we play the games. And I talk about a lot of the games in the book. I even talk about the 1959 Southern Conference Championship game between West Virginia and their star player, Jerry West, and how a lot of the cadets rode up on a bus. And I interviewed some of them who slept up in, some of you old timers might remember the luggage rack right above the seat. Some of these cadets were sleeping out there. And but some of these games and stories are all in the book, which is available on Amazon. The official name of the book is From the Pages of the Blue and White, My First 25 Years of Citadel Athletics. Or you can call the Citadel Brigadier Foundation at 843-953-5277. And but there's a lot of tributes to people who have passed away, that people know the names but didn't know the personalities behind it. Like General Johnson Haygood, for whom our football stadium is named, McAllister Fieldhouse, who was Colonel David McAllister. So the book talks, it's a must read for all Citadel fans, but sports fans, it could be a lot of fun as well.
Okay. Well, Andy, I hope you sell a bunch of books, and it's very interesting. I tell you, one of my favorite chapters is the chapter 11. They said it, and some quotes, Professor. And my favorite quote in here is from Andy Clausen, who I've known for 40-something years. He says, "Any chicken that isn't fried gave up his life for nothing."
Oh, that's a classic. That's
a
great,
great
man.
quote. Hey, Andy, thank you for your time. Tell everybody down there we said hello, and hopefully you'll sell a bunch of books. We'll keep plugging it.
Thank you so much, guys. Take care.
All right, Andy Solomon with the Citadel. He's been in that Charleston area for a long, long time.
the strength department did a wonderful job with our guys. We're bigger, faster, and stronger. And with our guys, we're bigger, faster, bigger, faster.
I want to get a couple of quick Chow Port stories, but before that, and also Lou, hang on, Lou from Hanahan, we got him wanting to chime in, and we will hear from USC defensive coordinator Travaris Robinson as well. But undrafted South Carolina guard P.J. Dozier has agreed to a partially guaranteed deal with the Dallas Mavericks, according to ESPN.
That's
partially
good.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, you get a chance, as long as you can just get your foot in the door and show what you can do. And not many guys 6'6", 6'7" can play point guard. I really did think that PJ needed to stay one more year, especially in the weight room, to get stronger, to take the contact at the next level.
And
but
keep working on that outside shot
yeah,
as well. Chalport always tells the story. Hank Small hit a home run down there at College Park. I guess it was 74, 75. Over the light tower in left center field.
The natural.
He hit that ball, and I was having to be covering the game. One of the longest home runs I ever hit. And if you remember College Park, the outfield, the lighting wasn't the greatest in the outfield, so the ball just kind of disappeared. And then you saw it up over the light tower. And Chalport would talk about, he talked about that home run for 20 years. And he said as soon as he hit it, he said everybody in the dugout, both dugouts, boom, to the front step to see how far that would go. My other favorite Chalport story, and I apologize if you heard this because I've told it many, many times. My good friend Mike Cherry, Mike and I played some summer baseball together. But Mike was a pitcher of the year in the Southern Conference at the Citadel. Was recently, well, not recently, 5, 6, 7 years ago, named to the all-time Southern Conference baseball team. He threw about 95. I mean, he threw hard. And he was having a little trouble. He walked somebody and loaded the bases. So Chow calls timeout, and he comes out and says, good job. Give me the ball. We're going to try something else. Mike said, no. What do you mean, no? I'm the coach. Give me the ball. No. Go get back to the dugout. I'm pitching. No, you can't have the ball. Chow looked at him. He kind of hitched up his pants, walked back to the dugout, kind of huffing and puffing. Mike throws 395-mile-an-hour fastball, strikes the guy out. He comes walking off the field. They come hustling off the field after the end of the inning. Child's on the top step, and he looks around. He looks at Mike, looks at the rest of him, and says, now that's what I call great coaching. One of my favorite Chalport stories. All right, let's go down to Hanahan and get Lou on with us before we hear from Coach Robinson. Lou, thank you for your patience.
No problem, Teddy. I tell you what, it's good to have you for a week or two up there. Take care of Phil, and you're doing a great job as always. I certainly miss your articles in the state paper and all that. But
you're showing your age.
Yeah, no problem. The reason I was calling was I know when Coach Tanner took the job at South Carolina to be the AD, somebody had asked him about, let's have South Carolina ever thought about getting a sports museum to catch up with the Tennessees and the Alabamas and et cetera. And, I've never heard, any more about it. And I had, I guess a few years earlier, going up to Gamecock Collectibles and Saffron's Antiques and walked in there, and it was, Lou Sossaman and Don Fucci and Jeff Grant. I mean, guys that I just idolized and still do. And I asked Mike a few questions, and boy, he took me around and showed me the history, showed me video, had tapes, had jerseys, press guides from way back or whatever. And I said, well, gee, they ought to make this a museum or whatever. And just wondering if Coach Tanner, is that still on his agenda to try to get a sports museum to, honor all our athletes in every sport, to keep up with, like I say, it would certainly help with recruiting, I think, and certainly also help, some of the old timers come back and be able to bring their kids and just go to a computer and let them see a little bit of their highlights or whatever.
When I go to Alabama, I love going through the Paul Bryant Museum, Paul Bear Bryant. Clemson used to have, I don't know where it is now, I haven't been there in years, but they used to have a lot of stuff in the Derby Athletics Center there that was great. All South Carolina's got is they've got the Hall of Captains as far as the public can go. They've got some other stuff up on the end zone level, but the public can't get into there. I think it would be a great idea for them to try to get an area and set it aside for just that, for a museum of the school with some of the trophies and old jerseys. They had Steve Wadiak's jersey at one time. I think that would be an absolute great idea. And you're right, Mike Saffron's place over there is almost like a museum by itself. But even the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame doesn't have a building.
No.
They need a building where they can put plaques up with accomplishments. And I guess it's just a matter of money. Heck, the university's got plenty of money. I don't know why they don't.
I was one of those that said that if they did, they needed to put it into a small town setting. Where people
the South Carolina Athletic Hall.
South Carolina Hall of Fame, yeah.
The South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame is in Myrtle Beach. Mm-hmm. At the convention center there. Mm-hmm. So I don't care where they put it. I'd like to see them put it somewhere, Lou. And I do think, as big as that stadium is and as many adjustments that they've made to it, they could make an adjustment to build a museum.
Well, and that may be some room for it once they build the ops building.
And maybe so. Mm-hmm. And they also need to start retiring some baseball jerseys. They've never retired a baseball number over at South Carolina, as great as that baseball history is. All right, let's and thank you, Lewis. Gear back to football. I think we got time for Coach Robinson now. Yep. All right, Coach Travaris Robinson. And I would introduce this, but I have no clue what he was talking about.
Oh, he's just at the Fisher DeBerry coaches charity event, and he's just excited, to get to practice. It's really just an update on their excitement to get practicing.
We're bigger, faster, and stronger, and we need to transition that to the football field, and that's what camp's for.
What do you want to see from some of the younger guys early on in the first few weeks?
Obviously just, being adapted, getting adapted, getting all the things worked out, all the kinks, learning what to do and how we do things. And, and we built a different culture there in South Carolina. And, we expect our older players to teach our younger players how we work and how we go about our business on a day-to-day basis. But, just bonding with the players, getting comfortable in their pads, getting comfortable in our defense, and getting comfortable in their new environment.
Are there any young guys in particular in your group you're excited to see?
Well, obviously you got Jemias Williams, a guy who was highly recruited, who was a really good player, and he had a really good offseason. And we're excited to see what he can do. Taven Jackson is another kid who came in and did a really good job from Tallahassee. So we're excited about all those guys, and I can't wait to get the guys on the field and get them on the grass and actually see them with a ball and all that kind of stuff, and see judge the ball down the field. So a lot of things, you can't really tell during the off-season workout. Maybe they can run, maybe they can change direction, but when the ball comes there, do they get big eyes? That's something that you can't find out until you see it.
Is that the fun part of the year for you now that you get to stop talking about it and actually go out there and put everything in action?
Well, that's you guys that talk about it. We don't really talk about it much. We've been in the lab looking at what we do first and foremost. Every day trying to work to get better. And that's our motto. That's our motto for our players. That's our motto for our coaches. And that comes from the top down. Coach Muschamp did a really good job of organizing how we go about our off-season program, whether we're looking at certain teams, whether we go from the bottom to the top, however we do it. But, it's about getting better. So that stuff we ain't worried about. We ain't worried about last year. We worried about this year and how we're going to come out and perform.
And it's just around yon corner. The Gamecocks start practice on Monday.
And, of course, the key point is everybody talks about the improvement. Where does the defense have to improve? Obviously, the front line, you want to pass rush. See, I throw out the East Carolina game because they snap 1-2 and they're throwing the ball. You're not going to get much of pass rush against East Carolina. But the key point, Teddy, to me is any defense, and this is why Alabama is so good and why Clemson has become so good, is your depth. Because South Carolina played some decent defense early in the year, and then you saw those players having to play so many snaps that they ran out of gas right at the end of the season.
Nick Saban is probably the best college coach in the country. Some say maybe the best of all time. I thought he made a big mistake on that last drive against Clemson by not getting some fresh guys in there. Your fresh second-teamers are going to be more effective at that point than some of those first-teamers who were gassed. They were absolutely worn out. A Christian Miller or something, get them on the field at that point, I think you'd have been a lot better off. All right, we'll be back. Got some room for your telephone calls, a couple of news notes for you as well here on Sports Talk. right, about 7:48 on this Thursday night. Be safe out there, boy. I tell you, really scary this afternoon with that accident out on I-26 near Ballantyne here, not too far from downtown Columbia. A couple of news notes. P.J. Dozier has agreed to a partially guaranteed contract with the Mavericks. The heck does partially guaranteed? Does that mean he's going to get some money?
He gets some money, but he can be kind of shown the door.
Speaking of shown the door, Brandon Wiles shown the door by the Jets, but Professor made a great point yesterday. Getting cut this early, it gives you an opportunity and gives your agents an opportunity to kind of test the waters, check out other teams, and maybe get a better fit. Brandon Wiles waived by the Jets today. Also, the Mets are sending Lucas Duda, the first baseman, to the Rays for a minor league relief pitcher, Drew Smith. Drew Smith, I remember him. He pitched at Dallas Baptist. Dallas Baptist, really, really good college program. So those are a couple of things going on. Baseball this afternoon, Steve Pearce, a walk-off grand slam, Toronto 8-4 over Oakland. And Washington hit 8 home runs, 6 of them off of Michael Blazak in a 15-2 victory over Milwaukee. Cleveland 2-1 over the Angels as well. So those are a couple of notes. Have I missed anything?
Well, not really, Teddy, but
hang on. Reiterate the kid who is transferring to transferring from Florida to Lower Richland, right? Yeah.
Junior Christian Brown. Yeah. He's ranked the 11th top player in the 2019 class. Everybody's after him. He's got more than 20 offers, and he's played at AC Florida, but just to get a quick look at his history, he was actually zoned for Columbia High School, but they have open enrollment at AC Florida. So he went to AC Florida, played at AC Florida. This is his junior year coming up. And he's decided to go back home because he and his mom has moved back in with their grandmother. So he's going to play at Lower Richland because he's moving over to Hopkins.
LR is traditionally a really good basketball school. AC Florida has they've really done a good job in Richland 1 here in the Columbia area with athletics over the past few years, especially baseball. They had some good football, and they've had really good basketball as well. They've done a great job athletically in this area. High school football practice starts tomorrow. Had Kurt Burnett, the airport high school coach, on my local show this morning, and I said, "You going to be able to sleep tonight?" And he said, "He hadn't slept the last couple of nights, just anxiously anticipating football practice."
It never ceases to amaze me, Teddy, and it happens every year, and I call it fool's gold. We have some tremendous hot days near 100. Then about a week before football practice starts, we get a rain, it cools off, and the young guys are looking, hey, this not going to be bad to get in practice. As soon as they put those cleats on and run on the field, the skies open up, and there's old Saul standing there ready to bake them to death. So I just want to warn the young guys, this is fool's gold. It's not going to be cool once you hit that practice field.
And parents, talk to your kids if they're going to go out and play, especially if it's their first year. If you get thirsty, ask for water. Things have changed from the old days. If you get thirsty, get water. If you get a little bit dehydrated or get a little dizzy or something, let somebody know. Go sit down. That's no question about your manhood. If you have to do that in this day and age, you'd rather be safe than be sorry. In the state of South Carolina, and I'm sure there's some other states as well. In the state of South Carolina, we start playing football when it's 100 degrees, and we start playing baseball when it's 30 degrees.
Exactly.
So I don't know what that says. I'm not sure what that means, but
global warming.
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that is an inconvenient truth. I don't know. But the season's just been pushed so far forward. I can remember, of course, now 50 years ago, we didn't start until sometimes the second week of September. I can remember South Carolina and Clemson opening day being September 15th, 17th, 19th. Well, heck, they played 3 or 4 games by then. Of course, back then you only played 10 games too. Now, when I played high school, we played 11, but colleges only played 10 games. I'm not sure when they started playing.
Back then, you'd have all these cable sports networks that need to fill time.
Right.
So you got to have those games early and early.
Good point. I guess that's where a lot of the money comes from. No doubt about that. I didn't want to mention this earlier because I didn't want to get in a great discussion about this, but J.D. Power, which is one of the pollsters and kind of, I think, pretty well known and pretty respected. They did a poll, talked to 9,200 people who attended a football, basketball, or hockey game, and asked them if they tuned into fewer NFL games last year and why. 26% of the viewers cited the protest of the anthem last season as the reason they watch less NFL football. 24% said the league's off the field image issues such as domestic abuse, and 20% said the excessive commercials, which is interesting. They might get to the point where they're going to have to they'll have the game going on and they'll have a commercial running beside it on the screen, almost like a split screen, but not 50-50, but maybe something along those lines. And I'm kind of a purist, but I wouldn't have any problem with the NFL teams having one logo on their jersey.
Might go to that. The NBA is doing that. This year.
Heck, what do you think the NFL could get for that from some of these corporations?
Yeah, but suppose you're playing on a regular field and that logo gets a grass stain on it.
the corporation would be there with the bottle of 409 or whatever. And 16% of the respondents said they tuned out because of the presidential election, which was a circus in its own last year. But anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting, and it kind of dovetails into the Colin Kaepernick situation, who nobody has signed him. Now the Ravens are talking about a possibility there, and there are reasons. There are other players who have been signed who are not perceived to be as good a player as Kaepernick, but most of those guys have been signed for backup roles. And I'm not sure if Kaepernick is willing to say, I'll sign for a backup situation. I think he may want too much money for a backup situation, but let's don't be naive. I'm sure that there's some of those NFL owners just don't want to have the hassle of having him on the roster.
It would have to be a fan base and a strong ownership that can deal with, especially ostensibly, what would happen when he's first signed and the circus that would start. That's why everybody thought he'd be comfortable up in the Pacific Northwest up there in Seattle.
Yes. A California team, a Seattle team, maybe a New York team were very, very liberal areas, very democratic areas.
Or the Raiders sign him, next year, because what was in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah, we had a call yesterday from
Las Vegas, waiting for those Las Vegas Raiders.
I've never been to Vegas.
I haven't either.
Yeah, I don't know.
I heard it's in the middle of the desert.
That's what I heard too. Now, went to a casino in Montreal one time, and it didn't do really. It was really nice, the Casino de Montreal or whatever, but it really didn't do anything for me.
Yeah,
so maybe I'm lucky there.
They have one in Windsor, just across the river from Detroit.
Right,
go in Canada.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we'll be back with you tomorrow night. That'll be my last night, and then Philip will come back next Monday in time for college football getting started. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Jared, appreciate it. Appreciate you folks listening, and we'll be back with you tomorrow night, 6:05, right here on Sports Talk, South Carolina News Network.